Welcome, travelers, to my realm of nightmares. Allow me to be your personal assistant. Come in, take a seat, get comfortable. For when you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.
Hello, travelers. PA Nightmares here. I've noticed that over 30% of my viewers are not subscribed to the channel. So, if you're a new or a returning viewer and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you like what I do, liking the video and commenting as well, as it really helps push this video into the algorithm and it really does help the channel grow. Well, I've taken enough of your time. On to the main event. It's been a long while since I've posted here. I used to be formerly known as Pizza Man Pete. Since over a year ago, though, I've just been going by the name of Pete. I don't want to bog this post down with a lot of details about my background, so I'll try and keep it brief. I and my friends Carl and Nick come from a town where there are, let's just say, unusual problems. To summarize them, we had to deal with a variety of hostile cryptids and people who, after being missing for a while, returned hostile. If anyone wants more information regarding my experiences with that, they can go through my old posts, which I'll link here. In the last one, I mentioned that Carl was supposed to be taking us to a friend of his. This has been successful, with a lot of difficulties preceding it. I'll pick up where I left off with my previous updates. Keep in mind, at the time, I had to deal with a broken leg, which thankfully now is back in tip-top shape. If anyone is wondering why I haven't updated in so long, there have been some delays. I'll explain them eventually. For now, I will say we are somewhere safe, where we don't have to worry about those government bastards, at least not for a while. It hasn't been easy though. I thought living in my town would prepare me for anything. I was wrong. To quote the great Dave Chappelle, I've seen some shit. Where I'm going to officially start this off is a little over a month of us being on the road. Pete, Nick whispered after shaking me awake. That night, it was his turn to keep watch. What is it? I grumbled, too tired to open my eyes fully. They found us. Those words may as well have been a cold splash of water. Upon hearing them, all the tiredness I felt left me. Are you sure? Yeah, I was getting something from the snack machines, and I saw the two of them talking with the owner. I don't know what they said to him, but he looked pretty shaken up by it. Anyway, we need to get moving. They'll be at our door any second. I hopped out of bed on my good leg. Nick turned his attention to wake up Carl, who turned out to already be awake, and quickly packing his things. When did... Nick asked him. I heard you talking to Pete. I never knew Carl had such strong hearing. We didn't have time to dwell on that. I grabbed my crutches, and Nick put one of the chairs under the door handle to make it difficult to open. Shortly after, we heard pounding on it, and demands for us to unlock it. Once everything was packed, we headed to the window. Since it didn't open, Carl had to smash through it using the other chair. Watch the glass, he warned, tossing the chair aside. We went to his car, that he made sure to park in the space nearest to our room. He was backing out of it as some of the agents got to the window. One of them cursed at us and drew his gun, firing about 4 times. He only managed to hit one of the back doors. Then we sped out of the parking lot and down the road. That was way too close, I said, looking through the back windshield to make sure we weren't being followed. That goes without saying, Carl said. Fantastic. Well, we'll have to get the damn car painted again. I should mention that a week prior, we stopped at a body shop to have Carl's car changed to a different color. I'm not sure that'll work, Nick said. He pointed out that the agents could potentially go to whatever body shop we go to, then interrogate the owners as they did to the owner who owned the hotel. Considering this possibility, we decided the next best thing would be to paint the car ourselves. Once Carl drove what we felt to be a safe distance from the hotel, we stopped at a Home Depot, then got a variety of car spray paints at it. "Now we just gotta find somewhere we can use this stuff," Carl said, going back onto the road. "What color should we use?" We settled on dark red. Eventually, we came across some woods that Carl pulled into. "Alright, let's try and make this quick." We got out of the car with the spray cans and put some masks on so the fumes wouldn't affect us as much. Once we were through painting the car, we had to wait over an hour for it to dry. Nick had to walk away to take a piss, which left Carl and me some time to chat. "So, how do you think everyone's been holding up since we left?" "I wish I knew for sure, Pete, but they're probably fine. Compared to what they usually have to deal with, some pussy-ass agent shouldn't be more than a nuisance." "Oh yeah, that reminds me. I've been wondering something." "What is it?" "As long as we've known each other, you've hated the government, right? What's the deal with that?" Carl became visibly uncomfortable at the question. Sorry, was that question too personal? If it is, you don't have to answer it." "Nah, it's fine. It's just that answer to that question is pretty long, and I don't feel like getting into it right now. What I will say about it is it has to do with a bunch of little things and one major thing. Anyway, I need to step away for a bit." Carl went into the woods in the same direction as Nick had. Since I was alone, I didn't have to go into them to do my business. Once done, I figured I'd play something to pass the time. During one of our stops, I went into a thrift store. There, I picked up a Nintendo game bag that contained a DS Lite and a Game Boy Advanced SP, along with some games. I popped in Donkey Kong Country and switched on the SP, only to find it behaving strangely. "The hell?" I murmured, seeing static take over the screen. I had never saw a Game Boy Advance do that, then or since. The static I saw on it was the same kind an old TV emits. Chalking it up to glitching, I attempted to turn it off so I could turn it back on. It didn't turn off. I tried to switch multiple times, with no results. Annoyed, I pocketed it and looked ahead. To my further confusion, the lights were on. Not only that, they were blinking in a strange pattern. Only one light would blink at a time. The front lights would blink 3 times, stop, and then blink the same amount. Sometimes only one back and front light would blink. I got some serious, "there's some paranormal shit going on here" vibes from seeing this. Now, as I've said, growing up in my town has caused me to be more mentally resilient to this kind of stuff than most people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't feel afraid when these kind of things happen, or that the creatures in my town don't unnerve me. However, it can be sort of akin to getting attacked by a grizzly bear. By that, I mean they're scarier than usual if someone doesn't have the means to deal with them. That's something my parents taught me very early on when I was growing up there. Above all else, they put a lot of emphasis on not letting panic dictate my decisions. I've tried my best to heed their advice. I'm only human though, and have the occasional slip up. One of the old posts showed that my leg injury was a result of me being careless. One good thing that I can say about the incident is that it has made me more cautious and tolerant to pain. Enough of that though. I was about to call it for Carl and Nick when I felt the SP vibrate. That's another thing. I'm almost certain they can't usually do that. Actually, that isn't entirely accurate. It's more like it pulsed. I took it back out, flipping it open. Instead of static on the screen, I saw a beating heart. "What the fuck?" I whispered. Not only was it pulsing, but the SP also felt fleshy. I suspected if I closed my eyes, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between an actual heartbeat and it. Suddenly, I could feel it in my head. I clutched my head, falling forward from the tree I had been leaning on. The agonizing pain alternated from my head to my chest, back and forth, until I finally passed out from it. "Pete," I heard Carl whisper, shaking me awake. I slowly opened my eyes and became even more unnerved when I saw the panic in his eyes. Nick was with him and appeared just as spooked. What happened to you guys? We'll explain that later, Carl said, as he and Nick were helping me up. Right now, we should get back to the car. But we've only been here like 10 minutes, I pointed out as we were heading back towards it. That's not enough time for it to. His car was completely dry. How? I wondered aloud. Carl and Nick said nothing. We got in. Carl drove, and after some moments of silence, I spoke. Do either of you want to explain anything to me? First explain what happened to you, Carl said, making eye contact with me in the mirror. I gave a brief recount of my experience. When I finished it, their expressions were grim. Did something like that happen to you guys? Something attacked me, Nick answered in a hoarse voice. What? I said, sitting up. And why do you sound like that? He said that what attacked him did so as he was walking back in the direction he came. Some kind of brown tendril came into the ground and the tree and wrapped around him. I felt so wrong. I thought they were wooden, but they felt slimy. He pulled down the collar of his shirt, revealing purple marks around his neck. Christ, I said. They did that to you? Before that, I was going to say that our experiences were the result of the spray paint, causing us all to hallucinate. After all, even with masks on, we were around it for a long time. Not to mention, just because we're used to supernatural stuff happening, doesn't mean events don't have a perfectly logical explanation. Upon seeing those bruises, however, I knew that they were true. Yeah, I got lucky though. I managed to yell out before they started choking me. If I hadn't been able to, Carl probably wouldn't have heard me. Thanks, by the way. At that, he added to the conversation. No problem, Nick. That thing was freaky as hell, though. Wait, did you guys see what the tentacles attached to? Kind of. After I cut Nick free, we heard something big growl at us from deeper in the woods. I couldn't make it out because of all the trees. That's for the best, though. It hurt to look at it. What do you mean? It's like our brains couldn't make sense of it. The only parts of its face we saw were its eyes. It had at least a dozen of them, all different shapes and sizes. It tried grabbing at us, but we escaped before it could. I slumped in the back seat and groaned. I thought leaving the town would at least give us a break from this kind of shit. Well, you know what they say, Pete. Certain kinds of problems tend to follow you around. Apparently. Why is it happening now, though? Wish I knew, but let's be thankful it didn't kill any of us. Yeah, true. But what do you think it was trying to do to me? Can't say for sure. Maybe it was trying to get inside your head or something. Anyway, I think it'd be for the best if we talked about something else. I'll have to leave it off here. I'm pretty busy usually, so I'll have to continue this next week. Okay, so right off the bat, I want to say that my body is screaming at me right now. I didn't mention this in the last post, but Carl has been putting Nick and me through some really intensive combat training. I won't deny that it has benefited us. I mean, up until about 8 months ago, I could never do an action role, nor did I ever look as fit as I do now. I couldn't stop thinking about what happened over the next week. I tried doing things to direct myself, only to find my mind wandering back to the subject. Nick's voice had returned to normal by then, and his bruises were gone. Nothing really eventful happened for a little while after that. Then, shit hit the fan again. Hey, Carl? He replied in the passenger seat. Nick was the one driving, and at the time, it was well into the night. He and Carl rotated driving duties. I would have helped with that if it weren't for my leg. All I could really do was be on the lookout for any suspicious cars following us. On more than one occasion, we had to lose some pursuers. One of those times, Carl shot out one of their tires, sending them off-road into a ditch. I know you can't really talk about where we're heading, but do you at least know how long it'll take to get there? I asked. We've been on the road for over a week now, since what happened. I can't really answer that, Pete. If it weren't for all the detours we've had to take, we'd have reached it by now. Detours meaning taking alternate routes, when we noticed any signs of agents in the area. We also had to determine which ones to pick that they most likely wouldn't. The idea was to be as unpredictable as possible when it came to traveling. If it weren't, they'd be able to figure out where we'd be and have people waiting for us. I don't play chess, but our situation was similar to it, in that it required thinking several steps ahead. Maybe we should see if we can disguise ourselves, Nick suggested. I did know somebody who specialized in special effects makeup taught me some things, but it can take hours or even days to apply that stuff in a way that would completely change our faces. Do you think it'd be worth it? I asked. Carl wrinkled his brow. Maybe later. It'd take too long with the way we've been going. He was about to close his eyes when they suddenly widened. What is it? Nick said, glancing at him. Do either of you smell that? Smell what? It smells like breakfast. Bacon, eggs, toast. I think I'll even pick it up on syrup. Actually, now that you mention it, yeah. What about you, Pete? I can, but where's it coming from? I don't see any restaurants. Almost as if in response to what I said, we saw a truck stop diner come into view. We looked at each other. I could go for a bite to eat, Carl said. What about you guys? I'm down. Although, isn't it kind of weird that a truck stop diner is all the way out here? Nick asked. We've seen stranger things. Besides, it's not that uncommon for places like this to be out here. Sometimes it's the only thing that saves truckers from nodding off at the wheel and crashing. I don't fully remember the name of the place. I think it was someone's name and then the word truck stop diner. I do remember it looked pretty run down. Half the letters that made up its neon sign were out, and as we pulled into the park, the headlights of Carl's car illuminated a bunch of discarded hubcaps near the restaurant's entrance. Are you guys sure you want to stop here? Nick asked. We've seen worse places, I said with a shrug. Besides, that smell has gotten even stronger. There are only about 4, maybe 5 trucks parked at the stop. We expected the inside to be as well maintained as the outside. It ended up looking as if the restaurant just opened up recently. Based on the decor the diner had, it was either built during the 50s or made to appear that way. This is a stark contrast if I've ever seen one, Carl said. The tables were empty. The bar stools, however, were all occupied. A trucker sat at each one. Some only drank, while others chatted amongst themselves. It was hard to make out their conversation due to how gruff their voices were. An older red-haired woman in thick glasses was serving them drinks. She noticed us, then told the trucker she'd be right back. She took out a small notepad from the pocket of her uniform and a pencil she was keeping behind her ear. She smiled at us with teeth that seemed almost too white. She greeted us with a voice that captured the essence of Southern hospitality. Good evening, y'all. What can I get you? We gave her our order. Carl ordered some bacon and eggs. Nick ordered some ham and hash browns. Having a bit of sweet tooth at the time, I ordered French toast, which will be served with maple syrup and strawberries. Along with all that, we each ordered some coffee. Alright, now it'll take a little time to whip this all up. I hope that won't be an issue. Not at all, Carl told her. Fantastic. Well, it'll be out as soon as it's ready. Oh, and by the way, we have some delicious cakes and pies if you're feeling like dessert afterwards. You know, Nick said, I was feeling kind of iffy about this place, but it seems pretty good. Yep, it's good to just be able to relax like this. All this traveling gets tiring, I said. So, Carl, how long do you think we should stay here? I'd say about an hour or so would be good. Alright, I'm getting kind of restless, so I'm going to go out for some fresh air. Let me know when our food is out. I grabbed my crutches and proceeded to get up from the booth. As I did, a trucker was getting up as well. Something happened as he passed by that caused me to be slightly on edge. What the hell? I said in a low voice. Is something wrong, Pete? I thought I saw... Never mind. It's late. My mind's probably playing tricks on me. Using my crutches, I hopped outside. Usually I'm not a fan of hot weather. However, at the time, I found it to be relaxing. It had been so long since I just stopped and truly took in the scenery. I glanced up at the sky filled with stars, and my heart nearly stopped at what I saw. I thought I saw something among the stars. It only lasted for a split second. When I blinked, the sky looked normal. Thinking my tiredness was causing me to lose it, I decided to get a little exercise to try and wake myself up more. I intended to simply hop around the diner 3 or 4 times while going around it. I happened to see the trucker who walked past me. There were also several other truckers that he was talking to. Due to being too far away, I couldn't make out their conversation. However, I gathered he wanted to show them something that was in his trailer. Curious as to what was inside, I watched as he opened it. This revealed only darkness inside. At first, I as well as the other truckers were under the impression it was empty. This quickly changed when a giant hand came out of it. When I say giant, I mean it didn't seem possible that whatever the arm was attached to could fit in that trailer. The arm alone was too thick that it almost seemed to take up the entirety of the inside. Dark fur covered it, and each finger ended in long claws. Oh, fuck. Not more of this shit, I thought, beginning to slowly back away to go back inside to get Carl and Nick. With the exception of the trucker who opened the trailer, the others screamed but were quickly silenced. The hand shoved its claws to their heads, killing them. It then lifted them into the truck. I wanted to yell too, but managed to keep it inside. The last thing I wanted to do was attract its attention. Unfortunately, my efforts were futile. The trucker wanted to close the trailer when the hand made a gesture, letting him know not to. Then it pointed its index finger in my direction. That was some horse shit. The arm stretched out of the trailer towards me. Keep in mind, I was over 30 feet away from the trailer. If I had to guess, I'd say it could sense me somehow. Of course, I wasn't wondering about that at the time. I was trying to figure out how to get the hell away from it. I could only hop so fast after all. I ended up tripping. Now, in every horror movie I've seen, tripping is usually a death sentence for a character. In my case, it actually saved my life. By tripping, I caused its claws to miss. If I hadn't, I would have been impaled. Guys, I yelled as the arm was turning around to try and stab me again. As I was about to, I heard the sound of screeching tires and then the loud bang of a shotgun. Bits of dark blood and flesh flew away from the hand, causing it to recoil. As it was, the trucker's expression, which was calm before, stretched into an almost unnaturally wide grin. What the fuck was that? I screamed at him. He didn't answer. He just went to the driver's door of his truck and went through it? My mouth fell open when I saw this. So, that wasn't a hallucination in the diner after all, I thought? While he was walking past me in it, he went through the ends of my crutches. I originally dismissed this as the product of a tired mind. Seeing him go through his driver door made me know that wasn't the case. It was when he was driving off did I become aware of Carl and Nick standing behind me. The former held a shotgun, now aimed at the ground, and both wore pale expressions. Did you guys see what that trucker did too? They replied that they did, and I asked them what they saw in the diner. We'll tell you about it when we're back on the road, Nick said, as he and Carl helped me up. I have to be leaving things off here. However, I will share something in the Starry Night Sky each of us witnessed. Nick pointed it out as we were getting to Carl's car. We wondered what he was seeing. Then we noticed that the stars were moving. They did so until they had taken the shape of a face with a wide grin. The best way I can describe it is if the smiling trucker somehow became possessed by the Cheshire Cat, yet somehow even more disturbing. We knew it was staring down at us, which made me feel insignificantly small, and I imagine Carl and Nick felt similar. What disturbed us more is when it spoke, not out loud. Words came out of its mouth, of which there were only 3.
You look tasty.
I would like to thank tonight's author or authors for allowing me to use their works. If you enjoyed this, the author's links will be in the description below. Please check them out and let them know PA sent you. Also, if you like to walk around representing my realm and gaining new travelers, the links to my merch store, my website, and all my other social medias will be in the description below. As always, I'd like to say a special thank you to all my lovely Patreons. All of their names will appear on screen. I'll make sure to put all their links into the description below so you guys can check them out as well if you'd like.
But as always, travelers, once you step into my realm, there's no stepping out.